YouTube, Nutter Empire, what is going down? Welcome back to another video. So, Jaquiski Tartt earlier this week signed a 1-year free agency deal with the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, Jaquiski Tartt obviously has been one of the longest tenured 49ers for probably I believe he was with the 49ers for 7 years, which is very, very long. There's not a lot of players on the 49ers that have been there for that long. We've been through so many head coaches during that time span that really the rosters have just been revamped. But Jaquiski Tartt found a way to stay. He was a very, very productive player for the 7 years that he was with the 49ers. Dealt with a lot of injuries, but that's how you know he's on the 49ers, a player dealing with a bunch of injuries and whatnot. Now, when it comes to Jaquiski Tartt, obviously salute to him. I mean, he's been, like I said, he's been one of the more productive 49ers players, one of the longest tenured 49ers players aside from Jimmy Ward. And then obviously Joe Staley retired after the Super Bowl loss in 2019. But either way, the 49ers are not going to have to fill his void. They're going to have to fill his void by looking at Tarvarius Moore, Talanoa Hufanga, and George Odom, who are going to be competing for the starting job. The 49ers are not going to sign a veteran safety. I don't think there's a lot of veteran safeties out there. And the 49ers just really don't have the salary cap to do so. George Odom, Tarvarius Moore, Talanoa Hufanga. Obviously, George Odom, starting with him, signed from the Indianapolis Colts in just this past offseason. But he's a special team ace, and the 49ers may not give him a legitimate shot to start unless he just plays exceptionally well or one of the other guys struggles, maybe with injuries or really just playing safety all in all. I don't think that's going to happen, though. I think George Odom was specifically signed to be a special teams ace for the Niners. Otherwise, they take a look at Tarvarius Moore, who was actually considered the front runner for the starting strong safety job last season before he tore his Achilles in OTAs, in which ended his 2021 to 2022 season. I think he would be the player to be most able to replicate what Jaquiski Tartt brought to the 49ers. His athleticism, he's very versatile. I think Tarvarius Moore is probably better in coverage. Tarvarius Moore played very good in coverage during 2019, during the Super Bowl run. And for Tarvarius Moore, I think for the most part, it's a sticky situation because Talanoa Hufanga is a very, very good player. I think everybody knows that had paid attention last year to when he played. He showed really good signs of playing in coverage, of being physical, of being versatile. But Tarvarius Moore is seasoned. He's experienced. He's experienced in big games. He showed up in big games when it mattered. He lays a hit stick. He had multiple interceptions during the 2019 year. He was a very good athlete pre-injury. So I think his chances of starting will rely heavily on him being able to be healthy coming off of that torn Achilles. I completely forgot Tarvarius Moore tore his Achilles too. I had completely forgot about that. But going to Talanoa Hufanga, 5th-round pick last season out of USC, he nearly won the starting job out of camp. He wound up playing 395 defensive snaps and started 3 games while playing in a rotational role. Now, again, I mean, he's not the athlete Tarvarius Moore is, but despite that, he manages to be around the football a lot. No matter where the football is, it seems like Hufanga is there. I think with him not being as athletic as Tarvarius Moore, that may limit him from, constantly and consistently roaming into a free agent or a free safety role. I think, however, he does, for the most part, the way he plays now and knowing that his instincts and knack for playmaking is up there, I think that could make him an extremely valuable player near the line of scrimmage, which would be an interesting scenario for him and all. Really, Tarvarius Moore and Talanoa Hufanga are almost two different players that play the same position. Like I said, Tarvarius Moore is going to be your one better in coverage. On the ball hawk, things like that, while Talanoa Hufanga is going to be probably more of your run stopper, can line up near the line of scrimmage, is always where the play's at, is always where the ball's at. So it could be a scenario, obviously, where it's just between Talanoa Hufanga and Tarvarius Moore, while the other, say it's Tarvarius Moore, maybe Hufanga gets opportunities in a rotational role, or in like 3 safety looks. But for George Odom, I think he's probably has a less shot of getting that starting. And I like George Odom. I think it was a great signing by the 49ers. The 49ers needed that special teams help. And getting Oren Banks from the Packers, or Oren Burks, signing George Odom, those were really, really good signings for the Niners. So for George Odom, I think as long as Tarvarius Moore and Hufanga are playing well, I think it would be limited for Odom to be in a special teams role, which is probably expected. But I definitely think, for the most part, this is going to be a really, really fascinating position battle, to watch play out, since there are so many factors at play, and such different skill sets involved between Tarvarius Moore and Talanoa Hufanga. I'm rooting for Hufanga, though. I really do like Tarvarius Moore. Now, coming off of an Achilles tear is kind of eye-opening. We've seen what happened with Richard Sherman. I think Richard Sherman, when he tore his Achilles in Seattle years ago, I think he turned out to be decent for the most part. But Tarvarius Moore is still very young. Richard Sherman, when he tore his Achilles, was, I believe, over 30 years old. So that's a very, very big injury, though, an Achilles tear, especially for a player that is as athletic as Tarvarius Moore is. But at the end of the day, I think the good news for the Niners is that there is a long jam of quality players at safety, and it's, of course, not a bad problem to have. They just have to figure out how the best way possible to use them is, and I think they will. So I would definitely think, for the most part, going into training camp, Tarvarius Moore is going to be the front runner. I definitely think Hufanga is absolutely going to be in the mix and going to give him a run for his money. And like I said, it wouldn't be a shock to me if Hufanga got that starting job role. I don't know, man. It's going to be intriguing. I like both players. It really comes down to what the 49ers' plan is to how they're going to play defense next season. I'm sure it's going to be the same as just, the past couple of years. But obviously with Tarvarius Ward now, Emmanuel Mosley's going to be back and healthy. You got Jimmy Ward. Those guys are all ball hawks. Those are ball hawk players. Not so much Tarvarius Ward, but he plays very, very good in coverage. And if they want to go more heavy and better in coverage, I think your option's probably Tarvarius Moore. So this could go either way, but I could also see Hufanga being there as well, having him line up during the near the line of scrimmage and whatnot. It could also be a situation, too, where both of them really play just as much, and they just rotate. And I think that'll happen. The 49ers throw a lot of different packages in defense, and I think that that's going to continue to happen. And when it does happen, I think that you're going to see a lot of play from both guys. But as far as who's going to be the starter, I got to say Tarvarius Moore is probably that front runner. Unless he struggles coming off of that Achilles tear and, he's not the same athlete or whatnot, then I can see it being Hufanga. But knowing the 49ers have really good options there is good to know.